Welcome to Tita Talks. My name is Sonia Tita-Popolo, and I'm your host. It is a great privilege and pleasure to welcome Dr. Jennifer Joe and Dr. Ami Bhatt. Dr. Jennifer Joe is a Harvard-affiliated Massachusetts General Hospital and Brigham and Women's Hospital nephrology graduate, a practicing physician in emergency medicine at the VA hospital, CEO of Vanguard Health, CEO and founder of Medstro.com, and editor-in-chief and founder of Medtech Boston.com, and host of Medtech Insights, a weekly interactive talk show with Dr. Ami Bhatt. She is passionate about community building, innovation, digital health, and Medtech Insights. Dr. Ami Bhatt is the director of Outpatient Cardiology and TeleCardiology at the Massachusetts General Hospital and an associate professor at Harvard Medical School. She graduated from Harvard College and the Yale School of Medicine and completed her Medicine and Pediatrics Residency at Harvard, her Adult Cardiology Fellowship at Brigham and Women's Hospital, and her Adult Congenital Heart Disease and Pulmonary Hypertension Fellowship at the Boston Children's Hospital. Dr. Bhatt serves as a medical advisor for digital and telehealth companies, and her interest in digital health strategies stems from her belief that state-of-the-art, personalized care can be delivered to individuals in the community, empowering patients and creating stronger clinician-patient partnerships for sustainable health outcomes. Welcome to Tita Talks, Jennifer and Ami.
We're so delighted to be here and honored to be having this discussion, such an important topic.
Thank you so much for having us. This is going to be a great discussion.
Our philosophy is that true self-care relies on utilizing all four pillars of a healthy lifestyle. That's exercise, nutrition, rest, healing, and mindfulness meditation. And this is our formula for health, happiness, and longevity. When these four pillars are in alignment, we achieve harmony and equilibrium. What is your daily wellness routine, and what self-care tools do you use?
You go first this time.
Oh, really?
So I was just talking.
So I think that's huge. I think it's so important. I didn't necessarily have as many self-care tools as before. COVID was a real learning lesson. The number one learning lesson for me was physical activity. So I used to be, so before COVID, I was super physically active. I was actually captain of my volleyball team, captain of my tennis team. I was recruited to play college tennis. So my childhood was really spending like 3 to 6 hours, sometimes a day, exercising. I continued that throughout my life. COVID really had a hit, meaning I couldn't get outside. I'm also from Mississippi and I despise the cold. So I couldn't, we closed the gyms and then it was really cold in Boston. So I went like 6 months trying to do high intensity interval training on my dining room table. No. So for me, the number one thing has been getting back to exercising. So running outside, hearing the sounds, hearing the birds. I don't plug in my headphones because I just want to hear the birds. I want to smell the trees. It doesn't have to be fast, but I get out, I run. And that for me is very meditative. I practice a type of running called chi running, which is very focused on your breathing, matching your breathing with kind of processing what you've thought about through the day, maybe letting your mind run free. And then I'll wind down with sitting on a bench and just watching people go around us because it's been really isolating being alone. So just exercising and then seeing people and letting my mind run free outside has been one of the best self-care pieces I could experience. And I really underestimated what COVID did to that. And so now I try to do it every day. Are you happy that I have a self-care tool now?
I love that you have so much. I'm the exact opposite of the good Dr. Joe. So I will exercise in spurts and often do so to the point of hurting myself because I'm so enthusiastic about it. And then I stop for a period of time and then I have to figure out how to start again. So I've
That's
always been
fascinating.
one
We
of
call that a
those
weekend warrior.
people. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I've
ER
always
warrior, we
been one
call
of,
it weekend warrior. The
that's
weekend
it.
warrior is coming in.
That's right. So I think, the weekend warrior phase, which hasn't been consistent for me. My eating habits vary based on the fact that I'm just working in kids and running around. And I try to go through being more healthy and I get all the right things to cook. And then I forget one item and then the thing doesn't come out right. And so then I go back to the old staples. So I actually find it very hard. And therefore I understand my patients really well because I understand the amount of planning and discipline it takes. So I've done things differently. I've forced some of these things into my life. So I have a puppy now.
Oh, I love
And
your puppy. Puppy
my
make
puppy
everyone
Mocha,
happy.
so he's the reason I exercise now. And I've come to accept that running is not my thing. My knee went when I was 41 and I was like, what is this? And it was because I started running at 40, thinking this was a good idea. So I walk and I walk miles in order to really get those steps in. But I recognize the benefits of walking exist and are clearly there. So I'll get in my 10,000 steps with my puppy, and then I'll sit and I'll rub my puppy's belly. And that is my calm, meditative time when it's just, me and the puppy doing our things. And I'm reading again and again. A lot of this for me is about not anymore pushing myself, right? The weekend warrior
Mm.
was because if I'm going to exercise, I'm going to do it the best I can. If I'm going to do nutrition, I'm going to do the whole 30, which lasted 4 days for me. It's my whole 4. Everybody kind of makes fun of me for that. Like that was it. And if I'm going to, if I'm going to read a book or do something, I'm going to finish that whole book. And I finally let go. So I walk the puppy because it's fun to walk and I like the puppy. I pet the puppy and my mind just kind of goes blank because I'm happy. And I read a book and I read it as long as I find it interesting. And when I don't find it interesting anymore, there is no judgment. I put it down and I move on to the next book or I pass it to a friend if they might like it. And I think that's been my approach to wellness, which is not as well defined as Dr. Joe's, but it's where I was and it's where I need to be. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
That's wonderful. And what does the healing power of well-being, a self-care tool for you, mean to you? I know it's a combination of everything we're talking about, but if you were to say, maybe in a sentence.
Yeah, so I think that's a difficult question because I think that well-being is such a healing power in and of itself. If you are happy and centered and you are in tune with yourself, and if you're in tune with, so this, as a doctor, if I work nights or if I run a crazy chaotic schedule, I can feel when I'm out of tune with myself. But being centered and being in tune with who you are and being happy has so many beneficial powers that you probably would never have to see a doctor, unless you got like hit by a car, in which case it would be nice to see a doctor. But it's so much more powerful than I think a lot of Western medicine, that I feel like it doesn't need to be said how important and powerful it is. Potentially it does because Western medicine hasn't recognized the power as much. I spent more time with Ami, and I would actually describe Ami as one of the most profound friendships I've had in like adult life. But part of that has really been learning the Indian culture and the reflection that the Indian culture has, the sense of spirituality, the sense of, I think, Ami, you described it as eternity, but like we are here. And if you are okay with just being and accepting that you're being, that's incredibly powerful. So I think well-being and what it means to you and finding it, it's important for you to find it. I'm not going to give you one answer, but it's so important that I feel like we shouldn't be talking about it.
That itself is profound, what you're saying. There's a profoundness in what you're saying.
There is always a profoundness in what Dr. Joe says, I will tell you. So first of all, that is one of the most meaningful sentences of this entire year for me, because I find my friendship and relationship with Dr. Joe to be just equally fulfilling. So what a nice thing to hear today. That is wellness, those moments, right? All of those moments, if we could just breathe in and replay those good moments. There was a tendency, and I still have it, it's not gone. And I think many women do, to be very honest, to replay the bad thing. even if it's a slightly bad thing, to replay that moment again and again. And it turns out that your neurons, your network in your brain, the more times you replay something negative, it really secures that. And then it informs how you think about yourself, how you see the world. And what we don't do is we don't replay those good moments. We don't take the moment to process it and just replay it again and again. And so this is not an answer to your wellness question. This is just a commentary, because I think what Jen said is right? Wellness is, that's it. That's if we could be that, healthcare wouldn't really be necessary at some point. That's what Eastern medicine believes. But and I'm a believer in that. But in the meantime, until we get all that right, we need the Western medicine.
So science-based evidence shows that the more self-care tools and techniques you have, and the more positive daily habits you embrace, then the more you not only learn about yourself and what works best for you in your life, but the better life you will live. It is about empowering yourself with the skills to live a happier and healthier and longer life, in a more harmonious life. I want to share an excerpt from my book, Sonia's Ring, 11 Ways to Heal Your Heart. Physical and spiritual well-being is necessary for life and growth. It is what helps to keep us alive, maintains and nourishes love, faith, hope, perseverance, compassion, and kindness. All of this is available for you. So reach out and grab what is yours. Jennifer and Ami, I understand that you are both passionate about innovation and hope to leverage the tools of social media and the internet to address social inequalities. Tell us more.
Okay. So first of all, it's so hard, Tita, to follow what you just read from your excerpt. I mean, I think the passion with which you bring these practices, right? And, we were talking earlier about the Kripalu Center, and it's not just a feeling or a whim. I mean, this is something that you have made your career and your passion. And so I will just say that excerpt is so perfect, and it's not something that somebody without experience could write and convey. So I'm a little dumbstruck right now, because I just think that was so moving. So with that in mind, thinking about social injustice and correcting, I think the key for me is understanding where other people come from, and listening, and trying to listen with an open mind. And that is hard for everybody, not just people who are in the center, people who are on the left or right, people who are of different races or religions. It is hard to listen. And I think the good thing about social media is you can even take little bites of it at a time. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to engage in a full conversation with someone. It can be, let me just see what else is going on in the world and what the other viewpoints are. And so my hope is that we encourage people to bring those other viewpoints forward in what are either polite discussions or even not a discussion, just glancing at a view of the world that I never really would have taken, and vice versa, right? Having them glance at my view of the world. And so I think that's just step one. It's not trying to bring the whole world together all of a sudden because of this. But I think it's really globalization. It's being able to see what different people experience, and even just having a glance to say, hey, that's a very different approach than what we see here. Jen?
Yeah. So really inspired by what you said. And this book has so much to contribute, and I hope that people read it. And COVID's allowed me to reflect, and I have some friends who I think who are reflecting in that same space. But back to social media and leveraging tools for social inequities, I would totally agree with Ami.
Thank you for joining me on Tita Talks. Thank you for discussing the healing power of well-being, a self-care tool for you. And for more information, please you can go to www.wellnessworld.com, and you can watch Medtech Insights every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time, and on LinkedIn and on your website, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me, ladies, on Tita Talks.
Thank you for having us.
This has been so delightful. Really honored to be here.